Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be working out problems 3 and 4, finding all of these features of this polynomial. Okay, so let's start out with the degree of this one, and that's just going to be the highest exponent here, so the highest exponent is going to be 4. Alright, so our degree is 4. Then we're going to go look at the number of turning points. Okay, so let's go look, and we are going to type this into Desmos. So x to the 4th minus 3x squared minus 3x and then plus 4. Okay, turning points are where it's going to go from increasing to decreasing or vice versa. So this is going to look like a cup or a mountain. Now this point right here is a little bit hard to see, but you can see that this is never going back to increasing. It's decreasing, decreasing. So it's not actually changing from increasing to decreasing. So we're only going to look at this point down here, and this is our only one. So this is our one turning point that we have in this problem. Okay, so one turning point down here at the bottom. This is not one because it's just decreasing to decreasing. So let's write down our one turning point. Okay, then we're going to look at our number of zeros, and that's just going to be where it crosses the x-axis. So zeros are happening just here and here. So there's only 2 zeros in this problem. So let's write down our 2 zeros. All right, then we're going to look at our positive and negative intervals. All right, so let's grab a little screenshot of this here. Just give me 1 second. Okay, and I'm going to post this into a Jamboard. All right, so we want to look at the positive and negative intervals, and positive is just going to be where it's above the x-axis. So I want all up in this area, and we can see that this is happening all up here. Okay, this is all of our positive where it's above the x-axis. And this is happening at these 2 points here, between these 2 intervals. So that is happening from right here to right here. So let's go see what those points are in Desmos. So this is only the x values, 0.816 to 1.859. So we're only looking at where it's above the x-axis. So this is going to be from 0.816 to, and then this one here, 1.859. Okay, so let's go look at our negative now. All right, and this is going to be where it's below the x-axis. So if I'm looking at this Jamboard, where it's below is down here. Okay, and that's still happening between the same 2 points. And I do apologize, I actually did this incorrectly. This was supposed to be, it's negative between those 2 points, so 0.816 to 1.859. That was actually negative, okay, because between those 2 points, all right, between those 2 points, between this one and this one, the graph actually existed down here in negative infinity. All right, so between those 2 points, the graph was negative. That was my bad on that part. So we're going to look at the positive now, and you can see this is only happening to this side of this line, and then after this side right here. Okay, so after this point, it was also positive on this side. So looking on the outsides of the points, that's where this is positive over here and over here. So it's going to be from negative infinity up until that point, union from this point until positive infinity. Okay, so our positive is actually opposite, from negative infinity until 0.816, union 1.859 to positive infinity. Okay, so now let's look at our increasing and decreasing. Okay, and let's just look on here. Okay, so this function is increasing, or actually let's just mark what's happening. So it's decreasing again, and then it starts increasing right here, and then it's increasing forever. So it's decreasing this whole time. It looks like it's switching, but it's actually not, and then it starts increasing at the end. So the turning point is down here at the bottom, and that's happening at 1.424. So it's decreasing from negative infinity until then, and then from that point until positive infinity. Remember, we're only looking at the x-axis, so this is positive infinity over here, and this is negative infinity over here. So from negative infinity up until 1.124, then from 1.124 to positive infinity. So from 1.1424 to positive infinity, that's where it's increasing. To positive infinity, and then it was decreasing from negative infinity to 1.424. Okay, now we're going to look at our domain and range, and the domain, hopefully everyone can get this one right, is going to be from negative infinity to positive infinity, but then the range is a little bit different. We want to see what y values this exists on. So let's go look here. We can see that this function actually does not exist in negative infinity. It starts existing on the y-axis at this point right here. And looking at the y value there, it's existing at this point, negative 2.2435. Then after that, it does exist forever in positive infinity. All right, so it does exist all the way up here. So from negative 2.243 to positive infinity is where this exists. And we're going to put a bracket there because it does exist at that point, negative 2.243 to positive infinity. And the reason we put a bracket is because this is a point that exists. We can equal that point. We can't equal positive infinity. That's why we didn't put it there. All right, so let's go look at our last problem. Okay. And we are going to type this one into Desmos. All right, but before we do that, we can state the degree. The degree here is just going to be 3. It's that highest exponent. The turning points, we need to type that one in. So let's go type it in and see what happens. X to the third minus x squared minus 2. Okay, so the turning points, that's where it goes from increasing to decreasing or vice versa. So here we can see it goes increasing, decreasing. So there's one that's happening. And then it goes decreasing, increasing. So there's another one. So there's only 2 turning points that are happening here. There's a maximum, there's a minimum right there. Okay, so 2 turning points. All right, now we want to look at the zeros. All right, and that's just where it's crossing the x-axis. So that is happening just in one place at 1.696. So we're just going to write 1. Then we want to look at the positive and negative intervals. So we'll start with the positive. And we're going to grab a snip of this. And let's get a little bit up. Okay, so we want to see where this graph is above the x-axis. And we can see that it goes above the x-axis right here after this point, 1.696. Then after that, it's forever going to be above the x-axis after this point there. All right, so this is going to happen from 1.696 until positive infinity. So this is going above the x-axis right over here in positive infinity. All right, so 1.696 to positive infinity. All right, now I want to look at the negative. All right, and that's going to be where it's below the x-axis. So we can see that it is negative from here all the way from negative infinity up until that point is below the x-axis. So all over here on this side, from negative infinity until 1.696. Okay, and that's where it's below the x-axis. Now I want to look at the increasing and decreasing. All right, so let's start with increasing. We can see that this graph goes increasing, decreasing, and then increasing here. So we have two increasing intervals. That's from negative infinity until this point right here, which is actually at 0. Then it starts again after this point right here until positive infinity. Okay, so from negative infinity until 0 on the x-axis. Then from 0.667 until positive infinity is increasing there. Okay, so from negative infinity to 0, union, and then we have from 0.667 until positive infinity. So 0.667 to positive infinity. All right, now let's look at decreasing. Okay, and this function is decreasing only between these 2 points. So right here is where it's decreasing. That's going to be between 0 and 0.667. So between 0 and 0.667 is the only place where this graph is going down. All right, now let's look at the domain and range. The domain is going to be the same, so negative infinity to positive infinity, but the range is going to be a little bit different. Okay, and we can see that this function does exist all the way down in negative infinity. And if we zoom out, it also exists in positive infinity, looking at the y values, okay? So since this function does exist in both directions, this is actually going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And please let me know if you have any questions at all. I'd be very happy to help you out. Goodbye.